Welcome. I'm Reverend Shay McKay. I'm one of the ministers here at Unity, and I welcome you into this space, into this sacred place where we have come together to celebrate a beautiful life and begin the process of saying goodbye and letting go. To begin with, within the Unitarian Universalist tradition, we begin our gatherings by lighting a chalice. And the reason we light a chalice is multiple reasons. One is to remind us of the warmth of the love of the community that holds us, especially at times like this. Another reason is to remind us of the faith of commitment that we have to making the world a more beautiful and better place, which Linda was all about. And the third is the fire that dwells within each of us of truth, and dignity, and worth. And so I'm going to light this chalice this morning in honor of us being here together to honor the life of Linda. And as we light this holy flame, we remind ourselves that the flames of life and love are never fully extinguished. That out of life, out of love, and out of loss, we come here together to remember, to celebrate, and to mourn. And I light this with the prayer that light of love be here with us now. I invite you now to rise as you are willing and able in body and or spirit, and join in our hymn, Amazing Grace, which is number 205 in the gray hymnal in front of you. Seated. There's an Irish poet named John O'Donohue who wrote, "When you lose somebody you love, life becomes strange." We begin to notice immediately an absence an absence and a hole in our lives where somebody who was woven so tightly into our daily lives is now missing. And we come together to grieve that loss, to learn how to live with that absence, because it will never go away. We come together to grieve for two reasons. Grief allows us to remember, to keep the memories and stories of Linda alive in the world, in our lives, as we tell them over and over, as we share the memories of her. And grief also is a process through which we learn to say goodbye, through which we learn to let go. It's a process of healing and of integrating that loss into our lives moving forward. Everybody grieves differently. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. And I invite you all here with whatever you might be feeling today, whatever you might be needing from this time together today. I hope you find it. You are welcome here and you are held. And we are here together to celebrate a beautiful life and to hold John and the family as they grieve the loss of Linda, and also to say our own goodbyes. Our first reading today is from the book of Corinthians 1, chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but if I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, and it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And these three shall remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. I'm going to invite Doreen and John and Kate all up now to share their recollections.
Hello, I'm Doreen. I've known Linda since her senior year in college at St. Olaf, where we were roommates. We had a memorable year developing a friendship that would last a lifetime. We had a lot in common. Some of the things we liked doing was cooking, entertaining, discussing current events, hiking, sailing, just to name a few. If you know Linda, you know what it feels like to be seen, complimented, and appreciated. She rarely allowed the spotlight to land on her. She focused on you, your needs, your feelings, your life circumstances. And then, with her ability to relate well and her compassionate heart, she made you feel understood and cared for sincerely. Her compliments, right? The way she always pointed out your good points. You're a good writer. You're a great cook. You're so organized. She focused on the positive, but try to return a compliment? There's that modesty of hers. She'd segue the conversation, know what I mean? Quickly, too. As John puts it, an expressway segue. She was good at that. Yes, Linda focused on others. And then, being Linda, she took action. If you happen to mention you're coming down with a cold, within hours of your conversation, she'd be at your door with soup, not just any soup, homemade soup, and some fresh bread and a healthy piece of fruit and some other super healthy nourishment. She was there, in action, offering care. How many of us and how many times have we been on the receiving end of Linda's care? Yes, Linda involved herself in broad-reaching causes like the Peace Group, but her charitable heart went into action on an everyday basis, person by person. She was unique in how far out of her way she went to help others. Generous is a word we use to describe people who positively impact our lives. Linda was extremely generous. She offered others indiscriminately her time, her attention, her encouragement, and advice. Linda helped me in my job searches by editing my cover letters and resumes and making creative suggestions on how best to go about my search. She was a gifted writer, researcher, and creative thinker. Linda and I enjoyed meeting for walks on a regular basis. We loved being outdoors and catching up. I remember how cute she was, walking Phoenix. But it's more correct to say Phoenix walked us. It amused me how Phoenix led us to the hardware store for a treat, and then led us to the Dairy Queen for more treats. He was very treat-oriented. Linda usually packed bits of meat in her coat pocket for the dog. In Linda's view, she had a very well-behaved dog. Yes, I would tell her, you do have a very well-behaved dog, and that's because a well-fed dog usually is a well-behaved dog. Linda just loved thrifting items. She spent a lot of time at garage sales and Goodwill. One time while we were walking in her neighborhood, came across a garage sale, and of course we had to stop. There would be useful things here. I can hear her pleading, there could be useful things here. She came across some chairs she knew could be so useful for someone. In Linda's kind mind, someone in the future is going to benefit from this find. I spent several minutes trying to dissuade her from buying them because it meant having to walk back to her house, return by the car, load up, drive back. I just wanted to call it a day. But I couldn't say no, not to Linda. You see, and many of you know this already, Linda had an attic full of what I called the holiday bay, the holding bay for good intentions. She had a collection of lamps, chairs, rugs, tables, all kinds of charitable items that she'd give away to friends in need. I have a beautiful hand-woven rug myself that she wouldn't accept money for. So in the end, I was happy to help schlep those chairs back to your house. My husband, Cameron, is always commenting on Linda's uniqueness. I know we can all agree she was exceptional in so many ways. Think of every occasion, every conversation you ever had with Linda. I'll bet her modesty stands out. She was as modest as people come. And she was intelligent. She could research a topic so deeply it made my head spin. She put others' needs before her own. She could relate to people, read them quickly. She could get her point across in the most polite way because she valued understanding one another. And she did it all so joyfully. Linda had a joyful spirit, one we will miss dearly.
Hi, my name is John Schwartz. I've known Linda for about 20 years. I am part of the group of friends, a peace group, we call ourselves Marion Park Neighbors for Peace. John and Linda have been part of our group for more than 20 years. And the word peace describes Linda more than anyone else I know. Linda was special, and she deserves a tribute that captures her greatness and what I'll call her Linda-ness, in the way that she just was unique and herself and special. And her Linda-ness is that ineffable spirit and way of hers that made her the exceptional, one-of-a-kind person she was. And she deserves an eloquence that is not achievable by humans, that we can only aspire to. And she deserves that because she seemed more angel than human. So much of the time, the word angel comes to mind in thinking of someone who is so giving and so caring. And her generousness and kindness only hint at part of what made her that Linda that we know and loved. I'll just share a few stories. Linda was a great friend to a brother that I had who's now passed. Many people, he could be difficult to deal with. And Linda had the greatest patience with him. One of his things was he wanted a new couch. And he had become very picky on some physical things. He had finding shoes that he believed worked and finding a couch that worked. So Linda took him on many trips to IKEA, and I was there for some of them. And one of the first trips she came on, after he and I had been there many times, her first thing was to zero in on the saleswoman, who was age appropriate to us, but thinking, oh, you're here because you want to see Brigitte. And she learned that wasn't the case. She helped my brother buy a couch. 2 days later, he decided to return it after it had been delivered to his house, which required more visits to IKEA to pick out the second couch. And Linda gleefully, willfully, very helpfully helped him go pick out a second couch. It was delivered. A few days later, he decided, nope, this isn't the right couch. He had it returned to IKEA. She went back with him to IKEA to buy a third couch. He bought it. And then, no, it wasn't right. And then, anyway, it was 4 couches like that. The innumerable trips. Now, I accompanied him on some of these trips, but, it got to be a little too much. At the same time, he was having a problem finding shoes that worked. He had issues with his feet and his nerves. He bought 4 couches. He probably bought 50 pairs of shoes. And I'm not kidding about that. Everyone in our family and other friends got sick of going to the shoe store with Steve. It would be an hour-and-a-half trip, and he'd try on so many. Okay, Linda is the one who did not lose patience with him, did not give up on my brother. She persisted because she never wanted to stop helping. And so in this desire to help, one of her trips is we've learned about her frugality, and I will share a story about that, but one of her things about frugality, she took my brother to Goodwill, which I've learned she was very familiar with. They had a coupon. Linda had a coupon. And maybe some of you are laughing because you know the coupon story. So she went there to help my brother buy something, and they forgot the coupon in the car. So she sent my brother out to the car. He went out to the car, got the coupon, came in, bought something that she helped him pick out. They walked out of the Goodwill and to go to the car. He went to the left, she went to the right. He had gone to the wrong car to get the coupon, which happened to be unlocked and happened to have a coupon sitting on the dashboard like she had the coupon sitting in her car. So the two of them are sitting there having used someone else's coupon, not having used their own, trying to figure out what to do so that they, then my brother was one of the gentlest people like Linda. But imagine Linda in her kindness and generosity and not wanting to let this person know that we've been in your car and we took your coupon and used it. But eventually they found a way to do it, and I'm sure the person had no problem with it, because you can imagine how Linda would have come across, as she certainly was not trying to break into the car and steal something and do something untoward. They were quite the team, but Linda was so generous in helping. This story about goodwill and value, I want to share a personal anecdote of mine. Learning about Linda's frugality, I was having dinner with John and Linda, and I mentioned I had bought a sheet set at Target, and matching, and I think John said, "Oh, matching sheets," and I said, "Yeah," and John said, "We've never had matching sheets." And I was like, "What?" Linda's 50-year-old woman. And she's like, "No, Linda buys the cheapest sheets she can buy, so they never end up being color coordinated, because she can buy the cheapest or one color." And I'm thinking, this is what guys in their early 20s are like. But Linda was so frugal that she, so John, I'm sorry, maybe you'll have matching sheets now. Another thing, just a personal story of Linda. We know how smart Linda was. And in addition to how smart she was, how knowledgeable she could become about a topic. She would sink her teeth into a topic she wanted to learn about and know about and become an expert about it. And you could rely on her for advice, because she would always know so much. I got very sick this summer, just severe bronchitis, so not that serious, but my doctor prescribed ginseng tea to me. I went to the store, and it was a full aisle of tea, and I was clueless. So I went home. I didn't buy tea because I didn't know what to buy. So who did I call? Linda, to get knowledge about tea, because Linda gave me an hour lesson on tea, all ginseng and ginger, the differences, caffeinated, decaffeinated, how they make this, how they make that. She gave me an hour-long seminar, and I became an expert on tea. But Linda being Linda, it wasn't enough to teach me. She wanted to bring over to my house. She wanted to be the one to buy it. She wanted to deliver it. She wanted to come up to my apartment and nurse me. And this was 9:30 at night. And I will just say, for many reasons, it was not a good idea for her to come over to my house and deliver tea. And one of these things, she was so generous that her giving never stopped. And I had to put up a boundary to let her know, please, you have done, I had to try to explain to her, and I don't know if she heard it, and this is where I feel sad. I explained to her that I could have many people deliver tea to me. I could use Grubhub, I could use DoorDash, I could use Shipt, many people. So I didn't need her to do that because I had so many people to do that, but what I needed her for was what she had done for me, was to teach me, and that I didn't have anyone else to rely on who would sit there and spend an hour teaching me all about tea and helping me get what I needed. I hope Linda understood that what she did was far more than enough, far more than others would do to help people. She was relentless in those attempts, as we all know. And symbolic of her, I just hope she understood the value of what she did, despite her always wanting to do more to help others. I just hope she recognized how special and valuable and important she was, even though she wanted to never stop giving. And that was Linda, and that's what made her so great.
Linda liked being a tall woman, but in her teenage years, not so much. She came up with a strategy to make herself appear shorter, bib overalls. She would unhook one strap, tuck her hand into her pocket, bend one leg, and dip her shoulder down. Mission accomplished. That was Linda, funny, creative, and solution-oriented. Today we gather to celebrate the life of a wonderful woman, daughter, sister, sister-in-law, friend, aunt, neighbor, and so much more. A rare person who lived with an exuberance that spilled over onto everyone around her. John, and to the whole Schlesinger family, I'm honored to share in remembering her life with you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kate Wilcox Harris, and I had the great joy of calling Linda my friend. I first met Linda after moving into the Hague neighborhood in the late 1990s. Over the years, she became a part of our family, extending up through our parents and down through our grandchildren. Her love and friendship was unlike anything else. No one had a bigger impact on us as we navigated family, health issues, and the disruptions that came with them. She understood and was always there and at her side, and often sent out on these missions that she had orchestrated, was one of her great superpowers, her devoted husband, John. Since Linda's death, I've felt sadness, surprise, and a deep desire to be more like her. So I made a list of a few of the things I admired about her. Her apple cheeks and radiant smile, her contagious laugh, her decency, her deeply held belief in social justice, her compassion, sincerity, and the way she held everyone in esteem, her ginormous soul, what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called soul force, where love motivates action. Maya Angelou wrote, "A great soul serves everyone all the time. A great soul never dies. It brings us together again and again." That's Linda. The last time I saw Linda was at our women's group, where, of course, she brought fresh homemade salads to share, which may have been helped by her sous chef, John. That night, she had us doubled over, laughing as she told stories about growing up in Peoria, heading to St. Olaf, and the little absurdities that made up daily life. That evening was a precious gift from her to me. She cared deeply about her neighbors and community, and she was action-oriented. When Linda was on the case, networks were activated. Emails flew, calls were made, dots connected. Need housing? She could help you find it. Need a car? Not a problem. Hungry, new to the neighborhood, she'd show up with fresh food and that warm smile. Offering herself to others without hesitation. Between our two homes, we routinely swapped meals. Her dishes came complete with handwritten recipes. We would send food to her, and within days, our containers would come back, filled to the brim, baba ganoush, tabbouleh, hummus, and fresh juice. And we were not alone. Renee and Matt Swanson remember Linda feeding them while they were working on their home projects. Linda had a way of knowing just the right time to walk over, out her gate, and bring a plate of food to us. Delicious and just what we needed. Whether she was tending her flowers, sitting on her front porch, or walking Phoenix, she always had time for a friendly check-in with us. Rebecca March recalls Linda as a sweet, funny, quirky connector who made our neighborhood feel like one big, weird, happy family. She made us feel welcome the moment we arrived, bringing treats, telling funny stories, generous with her time and love. When our babies came, she treated them like they were her own. and from Jody Emmings, who built a lasting friendship with Linda over the years during brief sidewalk talks and exchanges. Whenever she greeted me with that playful, self-deprecating kindness, I immediately felt happier. I've never met anyone quite like her. She had a uniquely Linda way of being in the world, lighthearted, funny, and full of warmth. Linda, you were powerful. You had a deep well of compassion. You were curious, always learning, aware of your privilege, and using that awareness to help others. You were respected by family, friends, and strangers who didn't stay strangers for very long. You were a thoughtful writer and a deep thinker. And you cared about the next generation, being fully present with the Hague's children, whether they were 3 or 30, baking with them, trading books, being curious about their lives, and celebrating new births, sometimes in your wonderfully unconventional way, like giving our new grandson Langston a teddy bear that had the phrase "Black Lives Matter" stitched on its tummy. And so I'll keep asking myself, how might I be more like Linda going forward? How might we all emulate her courage and decency, qualities the world needs right now? On one of our last walks together, I asked her, how do you deal with the frustration? Don't you ever get angry? She answered, yes, sometimes. But mostly I feel grateful. That was Linda. Effervescent, undimmed, and unequaled.
To invite you to help me sing this song called "You've Been a Friend to Me." And the chorus goes, I'll ne'er forget where'er I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I have had a friend, you've been a friend to me. My bark of life was tossing down that troubled stream of time, when first I saw your smiling face, when youth was in its prime. I'll ne'er forget where'er I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I have had a friend, you have been a friend to me. Misfortune nursed me as a child and loved me fondly too. I would have had a broken heart had it not been for you. I'll ne'er forget where'er I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I have had a friend, you have been a friend to me. I now look back upon the past, across life's troubled sea, and I smile to think in all I've seen, you have been a friend to me. I'll ne'er forget where'er I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I have had a friend, you have been a friend to me. I'll ne'er forget where'er I roam, wherever you If ever I have had a friend, you have been a friend to me.
Hello, I'm Tim Oppenheim. I became friends with Linda and John at the Merriam Park Neighbors for Peace group. Even now, I mind that I went round with men and women, and underneath their brows, deep in their eyes, I saw their souls, which go slipping aside in swarms before the pleasure of my mind. The world was like a flight of birds, shadow or flame, which I saw pass above the engraven hills. Yet there was never one like to my girl. Even now, death I take up as consolation. Nay, were I free as the condor with his wings, or old kings throned on violet ivory, night would not come without beds of green floss, and never a bed without my bright darling. It is most fit that you strike now, blackguards, and let this fountain out before the dawn. Even now, I know that I have savored the hot taste of life, lifting green cups and gold at the great feast. Just for a small and a forgotten time, I have had full in my eyes, from off my girl, the whitest pouring of eternal light, the heavy knife as to a gala day.
Of Eric coming forward to read a eulogy written by Linda's husband, John.
Thank you, John, for asking me to read this. Thank all of you for being here. Linda was a wonderful and remarkable woman. John's words. When we first learned that Linda probably had leukemia, we drove to the Mayo Clinic to confirm the diagnosis. On our way, at 5:30 in the morning, she turns to me and said, "You don't need this. You don't need to stay with me." Once she was assured that I would stay, she said, "I am scared." In the next 18 years, I heard her ask me if I wanted to leave 3 more times, and each time afterwards, she said she was scared. At that moment in time, COVID was ahead of her. Aplastic anemia was ahead of her. Weekly and biweekly transfusions of red blood cells and platelets were ahead of her. She got so many transfusions that she knew them in and out. In the hospital, 3 days before she died, she told a nurse that the hemoglobin IV with saline was rigged incorrectly. The nurse left a check, came back in and said, "You're right," and adjusted the IV. Black bleeding mouth sores were ahead of her. Nausea, diarrhea, leg cramps that jolted her out of bed at night were ahead of her. Nightly chelation pump injections with a needle in her stomach and a pump on her bedside, each lasting 10 hours, were ahead of her. The refusal of one after another of her oncologists to continue to treat her was ahead of her. The realization that the graft versus host tissues of a bone marrow transplant would likely kill her was ahead of her. Constant masking, monitoring, and isolation was ahead of her. Immense piles of bills, medical tests, research, and data analysis were ahead of her. As one specialist told her, no one has what you have. And yet, through all this, she would always say she was lucky. She said she was blessed. Linda would come home from each treatment, eat, sleep for hours, and then call or be called by family and friends. She would talk and text, trying to calm and reassure them, insist on solving their problems, often offering aid for them until midnight. Then, completely exhausted, she would try to rig the chelation pump and go to bed. Often, her energy just failed. Every day was a challenge. Every day was a risk. She was chronically and dangerously ill. Before Linda became chronically ill, she was chronically late. I hear this is a Schlesinger trait, almost a badge of honor. Linda's idea of being on time was to leave at the time we should be arriving, and she had a deceptive trick. If we were to be late, she'd call from the car moments after leaving and say, "We're on our way." Linda was very social. She made friends everywhere and at all times. Everyone loved Linda except computer help desks, phone companies, banks, some doctors, some nurses, and everyone and everything that hurt people. She asked too many questions and made too many requests. Once, leaving the Best Buy help desk one night, I heard the technician angrily say to Linda, "Are you like this at home?" I think we were banned from that store. We were banned or fired from several doctors and medical clinics. In 2022, she got a certified letter from the Mayo Clinic, their business office informing her that she could no longer see anyone there in hematology except in an emergency. No explanation was given and no recourse possible. Devastating. She did not want anyone else to know. Too embarrassing. During her last dying stay at the Peoria Hospital, she was still able to somewhat talk before the need for breathing assistance. I saw her staring from the hospital bed at a picture on the wall of a tranquil field of flowers. In a shaky and gravelly voice, she said, "Not in Gaza." No peaceful fields and benign surrounding in Gaza. Needing care, she thought about those who needed greater care. She cared for humans, animals, our backyard squirrels, bunnies, neighborhood cats. She even kept us busy capturing flies, spiders, and various bugs to be placed safely outside. It was not uncommon to hear her say, "It's okay, hun. No, I got you." I would look up, Phoenix would look up, as we were all addressed affectionately as hun. But it was usually a fly or a bug that was in trouble, and she was trying to coax outside. A month after Linda died, I had a dream where she came down the stairs in our house, stopped on the landing, and told me, "Stop killing the flies." I immediately stopped killing the flies. She literally would not harm a fly. Linda did live for helping others. Some Iranian friends once told Linda that The Quran tells us everyone is created with a purpose. Clearly, your purpose is to help others. I remember that help. Moving into their new apartment, 2 U-Haul trucks full of furniture, including an old sofa sleeper. They got the furniture. I got the hernia. Our house was a receptacle for furniture and food for others. I luckily came home early one day and stopped our 6-foot dining table from being carted away by several college athletes. They lived next door. Linda was giving them the table because they didn't have one. I came home more than once to find that weeks' worth of food I had prepared for us had vanished, distributed to random friends or strangers, leaving us nothing for supper. One night we were left only with a glass of kale juice and some sautéed kale. Linda was delighted. I was not amused. Still, how could I or anyone tell Linda not to give so much? It would be like telling a bird not to fly. One day, a con man came to our door holding an empty gas can, asked Linda for cash so he could put gas in his car and get to a job interview. Linda told him that we have gas out in our shed. She let him back there. He said, your lawnmower gas probably has oil in it. She said it didn't, but just to be sure, she would drive him with his gas can to the gas station, pay for his gas, and then drive him back to his car. He got in the car, they drove off, and when they stopped at a light on a busy intersection, he turned and said, "Not everyone would do what you did, lady," and ran off into traffic. That was Linda. When car shopping, trying to decide whether to buy a particular car, the salesman tried an old sales ploy. He told us that we should buy the car right now as the couple at the next table also wants it. Linda immediately jumped up and said, "That's great. We can't make up our minds. Good for them." As we left, we walked by the couple, and Linda gave them a congratulatory wave and a smile. They looked quite puzzled as to what these strangers were up to. A week later, that same car was still on the lot, and we bought it. Once I found separate pamphlets from both the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witness in our living room, both in one day. Every vendor, social cause advocate, or beggar was treated with utmost respect, and they were asked if they needed food or water. Sometimes they got books or used the toilet, or both. Despite her generosity, she was frugal. There was constant dumpster diving and trips to Goodwill, 15-year-old sandals, threadbare tennis shoes, and a nightgown that had the durability and density of tissue paper. 4 years ago, I was so worried that I decided to make a deal with God to end my life early if Linda could live another 20 years. I couldn't let her find out. Otherwise, the questions would begin as they did for any purchase. Did they have any specials? Did you talk to the manager? Did they have more in back? Did you get a receipt? Can I see the receipt? Linda was beautiful and didn't believe it. She was talented, but felt she never had or was trained in a useful talent. She was loving, smart, funny, delightful, and quirky. She could naturally laugh at herself. She was naturally sensitive, compassionate, and kind. She was tough. If Linda had your back, she would be tenacious. She believed in justice and mercy. She always thought that she should not be getting all this expensive medical care. Others should get it instead. On her last day, when she was wearing the full oxygen mask right before they inserted the breathing tube, breathing heavily and very quickly, I heard her faintly ask me, "How are you?" She died soon after. Who does this? Who does this? Who, breathing like she is running a marathon, immobilized in bed, body functions failing rapidly, asks of us, "How are you?" How are you? Well, we are gutted. Our hearts are grinding into pulp. We are lost, and we don't even know it. You know, Linda was so rich. She had the best family, the best friends, the best colleagues, the best neighbors, and, not being modest, the best dog. We got her love and her care. No wonder we all now are hurting. We were the lucky ones. This horrible pain, this burning shell that envelops us all will drop off, and we will need to ask each other truthfully and lovingly, "How are you?" We will tell our memories and stories of Linda and laugh and cry and hopefully become cleansed, and then live in our wonderful world. These images of her suffering and struggle will fade away. I can see her now at the beach on Madeline Island, in the shallows, coming ashore, wearing that old, faded purple and white one-piece suit. She is whole, she is healthy and young. The water is draining off her body. She does that wonderful smile and asks, "How are you?" "We are fine, hun. Go on and swim. We will join you later." She turns, puts on her goggles, wades back out, and swims gracefully away.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, John, for those beautiful words. I invite you now all to rise in body and or spirit. Join in singing number 108 in the gray hymnal. You may be seated. Friends and family, as you take the time to grieve and the loss and celebrate the life of a woman that touched all of you, all of us, in so many ways, I hope you will also take the time to step through the door of curiosity and take all of life into your arms. Take the world into your arms. Be enthusiastic about whatever comes into your life. Find comfort there, find joy and inspiration, and find Linda there. You will definitely find heartbreak and grief. You will find suffering. You will find loss and love. You will find healing. And you will find the courage that Linda had to face death honestly and to appreciate all that life has to bring. I hope that you will appreciate life with the enthusiasm with which Linda appreciated hers. As we leave here today, I pray for us that we all be as gently fierce as she was in facing whatever was put in her path. May we all nurture the spirit of community and compassion, the depth of relationship that she created all around her. And may we let her life and her love, the memories and the stories, inspire us to live fully and to begin the healing process of letting her go. May you go in peace today, keeping her alive in your memories, in your stories, in the soup that you bring to each other, and in the joy that you offer this world. May you go in peace. I will now escort the family out, and then you are invited to leave out through the back and go around into the parish hall for a reception after.